The sun and the air all the shyness that is criminally vulgar.
Stephen, welcome to FameGames. Thank you for seeing me. Now, back in 1984, you began work on what would be the first of 3 albums with the Smiths. How did that come about?
I was working as a young engineer at Island Studios. There was a basement studio below the record company in Hammersmith. And one week, the manager of the studio said to me, "We've got a session coming at the weekend, a young band called the Smiths. Would you like to do the session?" So I kind of jumped at the chance. I'd seen them on Top of the Pops literally a week or 2 earlier performing This Charming Man and was captivated by them. So I said, absolutely. And they came in the studio with John Porter, who was still at that time producing them. And we recorded the session, which recorded Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. And they took my name and number after the session. I think they were impressed with my general enthusiasm for what they were doing. And well, then they came back to me and asked me to get involved with them when they recorded Meter's Murder.
So this was the beginning of quite a long-running sort of union, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Obviously I was quite thrilled to be involved when they decided to do Meter's Murder with themselves producing and going in the studio with an engineer that they trusted. I felt it was a big kind of slap on the back for me, really, as far as, you know, obviously it was a great opportunity as well. So you know, that it was the start of a very long and fruitful relationship.
Now, going onwards to 1989, when you began writing with Morrissey for his debut album, Viva Hate, wasn't it? How difficult is it to write with somebody like Morrissey?
Well, basically what happened is we finished Strange Ways Here We Come, and there was nothing really left in the can from that session. And shortly after that album, Johnny had decided to quit the band. I really thought they were going to be formed within a few months, so I had a few ideas that I had kind of recorded on a 4-track cassette that I sent off to Morrissey. I mean, the way Johnny and Morrissey used to work would be, and this is something I carried on, that Johnny would prepare a complete backing track, you know, a demo with you know, the drums, the bass line, the chords and everything, and you'd send quite a few of those ideas that you had, in the hope that 1 or 2 of them would be something that Morrissey would be inspired by and want to turn into, you know, a song. So basically I sent a whole cassette full of some ideas to him, saying, look, forgive me for being presumptuous, but if any of these would be useful for any future B-sides, then please, you know, feel free to use them. And basically what happened was that he came back to me and said, well, I'd like to, if I can, use these as the start of a solo record. And that was in August, I think, of '87. September of that year, we made a start on the record, which became Viva Hate.
Are you still in contact with him now?
No, I haven't been in contact with Morrissey for quite a long time now. It's a bit unfortunate, but I think history kind of tells that, or shows rather, that this is what happens perhaps sometimes with Morrissey and his kind of partners in crime along the way. We kind of get slightly discarded and put to one side.
And then moving forward again, Stephen, in 1991, you started working with Damon Albarn and Blur, which led you to producing the sort of seminal album Parklife. How did that union come about with you guys?
It's the Blur situation was unusual in that usually a band will come to me, or an A&R person will come to me and say, we've got this band, we've signed them, we'd like to work with you. In the case with Blur, it was the other way around. I actually approached them through my manager, as it were. I'd heard their very first single, She's So High, and was really blown away by the guitar work and, you know, generally the vocals and everything on it. I thought it was a wonderful single. And my manager, Gail Coulson, at that time she was managing a band called Jesus Jones, who were also on the same label as Blur, on Food. So I said to Gail, look, can you let Food Records know that if Blur are looking for a producer, I'd be very interested in working with them. As it turns out, their management, their record company at the time said it's okay, the Blur are going to continue working with the people who did the first single. But for whatever reason, that session didn't quite work out. So they came back to me and said, look, the boys would like to meet you. Would you like to come in? So I went to meet them at Food Records. We had a drink in the pub next door, and we said, okay, we'll give it a go. And the very first session I did with them, we recorded a track called There's No Other Way, which proved to be a huge success for them, and got them on the road, as it were.
Did you feel at the time that Parklife was going to be such a significant album?
Well, Parklife followed on from Modern Life is Rubbish pretty quick. There wasn't much of a gap. It felt like it was kind of like a constant work in progress as we went from one album to the next. Modern Life is Rubbish, although it was critically well received, didn't actually do great commercially, but I think it was a stepping stone we needed to make to get to Parklife. And Parklife, I was aware while we were making the record that it was a great sound. I mean, there was a great collection of songs there to work with, and I often feel, I've often said this before actually in other interviews. I think when a band gets to its third album, that's when they can really start expressing themselves. You know, the first album is obviously the collective kind of work that got them to get the deal in the first place. Second albums can be a little bit of a tricky, scenario. But I think if you think of a lot of great bands like The Clash, London Calling, The Jam, all Modcons, XTC, Drums and Wires, if you get to your third album, I think that's when a band can really express itself, and also that's when they really find themselves. And I think that's what Blur did with Parklife.
And of course they're back on the road, and they're doing a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been chipping away at Graham and Damon for years, like talk to each other, because I was really hurt to see them, kind of like really kind of separated, because they're kind of like brothers, really. I think that's why they had to be apart for a while. And so basically what happened, I was really pleased to hear at the end of last year that Graham and Damon did finally make contact. And I knew that once they'd actually talked to each other and spent time with each other, it was going to be on the cards that they could be called together again. So, not be called, sorry, work together again. So I'm really pleased to see that they got these dates planned. And there's a lot of love out there for Blur, a lot of people I think are really going to, are very excited about the prospect of this happening. So, I'm looking forward to the dates very much.
Because, that there is a feeling that almost everybody is doing a comeback, with the news last week of Spandau Ballet, Simon and Garfunkel. There's a whole long list of people that are coming back. I mean, you obviously think it's the right time for Blur to make a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I can't obviously answer for those other acts that you mentioned, but I know with Blur, it's not really anything contrived at all. It's just that a natural passage of time and healing has taken place, and they've met up and they've decided that they would like to work together again. So, shall I stop all this upstairs? It's okay. So basically that's the situation there. I think what's happening here most probably worldwide is that people. It's harder for young acts to come through now and really get to that stage where they can become big acts. And so, I suppose Kings of Leon are the only one that really have done it really quite successfully in the last few years. So there's that kind of lack of new things coming through at the top end. And so, for these big concerts and big tours. So most probably what's happening here is that these acts are kind of filling the gap in the market by reforming and putting on these kind of prestige gigs.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't. My argument sometimes is with some of these comebacks is that isn't it easy for the record companies? Kind of easy money for the record companies. That's what I don't like about it, I guess.
Well, this is it. I mean, because of the situation where the labels are making less money because of the downloading scenario. Perhaps the only way to kind of make sure they can keep some money coming in, you can't blame them, and if they're not getting it in from the new signings, is to go back to the repertoire they've got on their books and rework that.